Hello, and welcome to the English mini lesson. Some of you may be watching on YouTube. Some of you may be listening on a podcast. And some of you may be subscribed to my Substack. Whichever way you got here, I'm happy you are here. 3 quick housekeeping items we will go over each time. Number 1, be prepared. If you are listening on the podcast, grab a notebook so you can take notes. If you are watching the stream, you can take notes or even screenshots. Number 2, pay attention. These mini lessons are meant to be just that, mini. They are not long and drawn out, so put the other devices away and pay attention to the lesson we are about to go over. If you are a paid subscriber to the Substack, you can ask any questions about today's lesson in the chat and submit your review answers in there as well. Number 3, this is quite possibly the most important message. You are the captain of your own learning. You only get out what you put into your education, but no one can ever take your learning away from you. Showcase your knowledge on this subject by completing the practice questions at the end. And as always, enjoy today's mini lesson.
Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about creative writing. Have you ever wondered why the words creative writing are capitalized? Well, that's because creative writing is not just any writing. It's a distinct field of study, a branch of English studies that teaches and fosters the art of writing creatively. But what makes creative writing different from other types of writing? That's exactly what we're going to explore today. What is creative writing? Is all writing creative? Not quite. Think about the last academic essay you wrote or that research paper formatted in MLA or APA style. While those forms of writing have structure and purpose, they're not necessarily creative. Creative writing, on the other hand, allows for imagination, storytelling, and personal expression. It includes poetry, fiction, screenplays, and more. But a good question is, can creative writing be taught? And this is a question that sparked a lot of debates. Can someone be taught to be creative? The answer is both yes and no. While a teacher can guide someone through the process, the writer must bring the story to life. Creative writing is shaped by experiences, emotions, and most importantly, life itself. There is a writing process to creative writing. And before we dive into what makes your writing creative, let's talk about the fundamental process of your writing. There are 4 key steps. Number 1, pre-writing. This is where everything begins. Pre-writing includes brainstorming, researching, outlining, and gathering ideas. It's the stage where the seeds of the story are planted. Next, we have drafting. This is where the ideas start to take form. Writers put their thoughts into words, crafting sentences and paragraphs without worrying too much about perfection. Next, we have revising. At this stage, writers refine their work, focusing on clarity, coherence, and organization. They ensure that ideas are well developed and that the story flows logically. Finally, we have editing. This is where your grammar, punctuation, and spelling are polished. It's about making sure the writing is crisp and free of errors before it reaches its audience. Now back to that question. What makes writing creative? We talked about the structured process and we infused it with creativity. What elements make writing truly creative? 2 of the most important aspects are character development and plot development. So, characters are the heart of any great story. To write compelling characters, I want you to think about following these 5 steps. Number 1, identify your characters and their roles. Who are they? What purpose do they serve in the story? 2, get inside your character's head. Understand their thoughts, fears, and their motivations. Next, research, research, research. If your character is a doctor, learn about medicine. If they live in a different era, research that time period. Next, let's write some strong dialogue. Dialogue should reveal personality and advance the story. And finally, show, don't tell. Use descriptive language and figurative speech to bring your characters to life. Next, let's talk about that plot development. A strong plot keeps readers engaged. Here are 10 steps to crafting a compelling story. First, let's study effective plots. Analyze books or films to see what works. Next, develop an intriguing premise. Start with a what if question. Create a timeline. Understand the sequence of events. Also, develop your character in intriguing ways. Let their experiences shape them. Make each of the 5 W's change. Who, what, where, when. That should evolve. Next, let's outline scenes to create a storyboard. This keeps the structure organized. Also, include subplots. Those are going to add depth to your story. Balance your character. Driven and action-driven elements, both of those should propel your story forward. Also, ask important questions. Why do the characters change? What have they learned? And finally, get feedback. Share your work with others so you can get their perspective on how it's going. All right, here's where the magic finally happens. Bringing it all together. When the structured writing process, the pre-writing, the drafting, the revising, and the editing merges with your creative elements, such as your character and your plot development, that is when storytelling is born. So if you have a story inside you, nurture it. Use these tools. Trust the process. And most importantly, write. Your words have the power to inspire, entertain, and change the world.
A reminder, subscribers to the Substack can submit their answers and questions into the chat. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com, Shannon McNamara, or watch History in a Minute on TikTok at UDaleNisa. See you again next week. Subscribers to the Substack can submit their answers and questions into the chat. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com, Shannon McNamara, and watch English in a Minute on TikTok at UDaleNisa.